The Better Beer Authority landed an interview with Dave Engbers and Mike Stevens of Founders Brewing Company, the #2 brewery in the world, according to ratings at Ratebeer.com.
I mean, we both worked at beer distributors, and beer was one of those things that was really important in our lives. And I guess at the time we were just drinkers, but also everyone kept saying, "Do what you love, do what you love." And at the time, I think there was only one brewery, maybe 2 breweries in the entire state.
We decided this was a great excuse to take a road trip to Western Michigan and hit some of the notable breweries in the area. Let me know which ones you've heard of, /tasted beers from, /want to go to in the comments section. We arrived on Thursday night and hit Bells Brewery in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Ratebeer's #3 rated brewery in the world. We wanted to interview Larry Bell, but that punk wouldn't return our phone calls. But I ain't bitter. So we just decided to have a few warm-up beers at the Eccentric Café, which is their brewpub. We didn't want to get too crazy because we had an early wake-up call for our interview at Founders the next day, and I had to get my beauty sleep. We had some samplers that came on these cool platters in the shape of the state of Michigan and called it a night soon thereafter. The next morning, we woke up early and headed to Grand Rapids, Michigan for our interview at Founders. We set up the interview in their boardroom, and I wasn't sure what to expect. When Dave Engbers and Mike Stevens, the founders of Founders, walked in at 10 a.m. and offered us a pre-interview beer, I knew it was going to be a great talk. Now, I can't say enough good things about Founders. The guys running it are a ton of fun, and they have some amazing beer. Please check out the full interview with them on our YouTube channel. After the interview, we went to their tap room, and we could have stayed there all day. They had a great selection of beers, and the beer hall was already buzzing by lunchtime. But we had other stops to hit, so we loaded up and headed to Brewery Vivant.
They look good, good. Keep it going.
Located in a historic neighborhood in Grand Rapids, this brewery is housed inside of an old funeral home. Their brewpub is housed in an old chapel and has great ambiance. Their beer is inspired by the brews of southern Belgium and northern France, and they serve it warmer and flatter than other American beer is usually served. They have excellent food that is more exotic than your typical brewpub. The highlight of this stop was a personal tour from one of the managers. He showed us their brewing facilities. They can their beer, so make sure to look for them at the store. We finished our lunch and headed to Hobcat, a bar, but not just any bar. Beer Advocate has it as the #3 rated beer bar on the planet. They're also a nano brewery with beers that veer far from the traditional style guidelines. You should definitely try them because they are unique.
Cheers to the worst IPA I've ever had.
But be warned, some of the strong, non-traditional flavors will be off-putting for some drinkers. The inside bar was packed and had no place to sit, so we opted for the patio. Big mistake. It was freezing cold. We sat outside and shivered as we sampled beers from their huge drink menu. Now, this is a great trip, but it's very important to have a designated driver because everything is very spread out. Thanks to Craig, my cousin by marriage, for hosting us and keeping us out of trouble. It sucks to drive everyone around, but he did a great job of pretending not to mind. Next, we headed to White Flame Brewing Company in Hudsonville. They billed themselves as a nano brewery, and it was less than a year old when we visited. They had 5 beers on tap that were fairly traditionally styled and mostly sessionable. Die-hard beer nerds probably wouldn't have gone crazy for the beers they had on tap. But this little brewery had a lot of charm, and if I lived in Hudsonville, this would be one of my favorite local hangouts. Stop number 5 for the day was Saugatuck Brewing Company in Douglas, Michigan.
Serrano pepper.
Let's face it, by this time in the day, my palate was shot, and I could no longer appreciate the subtle nuances of these fine ales. We ordered a sampler platter of all 14 beers they had on tap, and split them amongst us. Our travel writer, Richard, loved their beers, especially the Serrano Pepper Ale and the Neapolitan Milk Stout. On arrival, we inadvertently sat down next to one of the brewers, and he offered to give us a tour of the facility. They ship their beer throughout Michigan and Illinois, so go out and buy some if you can find it. Our final destination for the day was New Holland Brewing Company in Holland, Michigan. This was definitely one of the breweries I was looking forward to. I love their beer called The Poet, so it was a real treat to get that on tap. The bar was hopping with a live band. Knowing that this was our last stop, we relaxed a little and had some fun. Richard ordered Das Boot.
You're almost there!
And we finished our night off with 2 liters of Mad Hatter IPA, which was a very smart way to end the day.
All right, day 2. We're going to Arcadia Brewing. Time to start drinking again.
First stop, Arcadia Ales in Battle Creek, Michigan. We had a delicious lunch. They have a smoker on the premises and have tons of great barbecue to go with their wide assortment of beers. Tim Surprise, the owner, gave us a personal tour of the brewery. We met their head brewer, Stacy Block, and she pointed out some of the unique aspects to the Arcadia brewing process. They use direct flames to heat the boil kettle, which adds some caramelization to the wort. They also use open fermentation vats, which was the first time I had seen that in a brewery. The brewery is moving to Kalamazoo in 2013, so it'll be interesting to see if they embrace these unique concepts at the new brewery. These guys are awesome, and they have bottled beer at the store, so make sure and go buy some if you see it. Dark Horse Brewing Company in Marshall, Michigan was one of our favorite stops on the trip. They had great beers and a cool brew pub with mugs hanging everywhere.
The Rod, this one's an aphrodisiac, will get you in the mood.
Nice. Well, we're 5 guys traveling together. We probably don't need that one.
This is
Our waitress found one of the brewers, Dave, to give us a tour of the brewery. They have an outdoor garden with a stage that would be a lot of fun on a warmer day. On the tour, we met Wiggs, their resident hippie and production manager. Afterwards, we went up to their VIP loft where the tours go for tastings. We shared a few samples with Wiggs and learned more about Dark Horse. They are currently number 26 on Ratebeer's top breweries in the world list. When we were about to leave, Wiggs gave us a case of beer for the road.
Show me the beer.
In it were 6 bottles of bourbon barrel-aged Plead the Fifth, which ended up being the Better Beer Authority's #1 beer of 2012. The Paw Paw Brewing Company in Paw Paw, Michigan was probably the smallest brewery on our road trip. They opened in 2011 and wanted to make their mark on the local community. They started brewing tasty, sessionable beers on a small Brew Magic brewing system. But they are growing. We ran into Trevor, who is one of the brewers. He was so excited about the brewery that he wanted to take us to their new brew house a few miles away.
Hey, Better Beer Authority. I'm Trevor Klimek. We're here at the Paw Paw Brewing facility. I'm one of the brewers. We've got our new 6-barrel hot side system. It's going very, very well for us here, and the community's enjoying our beer. We thank you for coming by, and check us out sometime. Paw Paw Brewing Company, it's awesome.
He was one of the nicest people we met, and with his passion, this new brewery has a lot of potential. Our final stop was The Livery in Benton Harbor, Michigan. I have to be honest, after hitting 10 other breweries over the last 2.5 days, my palate was shot. I'm sure their beer was great, but I couldn't taste a thing. There was a charity event upstairs, so we didn't get to see that, and we were downstairs drinking beer. We were all feeling pretty mellow by this point in the trip, so we ordered a mandatory samplers of every beer in the bar, tasted them, and left. After the livery, we went home to rest our livers and get a good night's sleep. I wouldn't recommend hitting as many stops as we did on our road trip. It was a lot of fun, but I think it would be a good idea to only hit 2 or 3 and spend a little more time at each one. We're definitely looking forward to the next road trip. Where do you think we should go? Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. I'm James Knott, and this is your Better Beer Authority.
Better Beer Authority, Better Beer Authority.